The Scott Jennings Show on the return from break in 5 minutes.
Sean, you're not hearing any hits down there, are you?
I heard one little one during the read, but nothing.
Sometimes I hear hits coming back to me, but I don't think it goes out over the air. It's just when it comes back to me, I take it.
Sharing hits, I tell you.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 5 minutes. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Radio Network will break in 4 minutes.
Comer's people just checked in. He's on the House floor voting. He's going to call us when he's available.
The Scott on Radio Network return.
What does that mean?
And 30 seconds.
That's just what they said. I don't know. We're voting, so.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network from break in 3 minutes.
All right, I'm going to send up one more clip just in case he doesn't show up.
Okay.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
What's that?
The Scott Jennings Show on the
He's calling back in.
return into. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I know on the sheet you just said just says TBD. We're pretty buttoned up for January. I feel good about this. I mean, we don't really have too many places where it's going to be a high wire act. You know? It's a good thing.
Comer's ready.
All righty.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in 1 minute.
Okay, folks, have a good show. A lot of commercials today, boys.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 45 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network from break in 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 15 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from 5 seconds.
He's not just a conservative voice at CNN. He's the last man standing, athwart the leftist mob. The truth. Outnumbered. Still needed. Fighting for free speech. Less civilization. Common sense for the American people. Gentlemen, here's Scott Jennings.
The 16th, Scott Jennings here in your nation's capital. Well, right outside of it. We're over in Alexandria, Virginia. The Revolution of Common Sense book tour continues. Signed some books this morning up on Capitol Hill over in Alexandria for lunch. Want to thank my friend Brad Todd at On Message for the book event just a little while ago. And to our friends here, if you're watching on the stream, we're in the offices of Capital 6 Advisors, so they're giving us some broadcast space for the day, and we're appreciative. The Scott Jennings Show is sponsored by Ease Total Health. Health insurance is broken. We know that, don't we? Ease, E-A-S-E, fixes it with no deductibles, no red tape, and real benefits from day one. Visit easeforeveryone.com/Scott. I encourage you to do it. It might be for you. Big week for healthcare, by the way. We've got Senator Todd Young of Indiana coming up at 33 minutes past the hour. We'll ask him about what's going to happen with healthcare. Also, we got Rubio and Hegseth up on Capitol Hill briefing congressmen and senators today on the strikes against the narco-terrorists. We'll ask Todd Young about that as well. A little bit of scoop here on the Scott Jennings Show. I do want to talk about healthcare for a second. Democrats are fear-mongering again, blaming all of this healthcare debate on Republicans. But here's what's going to happen. Here's the scoop from the Scott Jennings Show. The Republicans are going to put forward a bill in the House this week that lowers Obamacare premiums by more than double what the Democrats are proposing. More than double. So, yes, the Democrats created this mess with Obamacare and the sunset on the subsidies. It's Republicans who've come along with the brooms and the pans. This is from the Congressional Budget Office. The Republican plan lowers health care premiums by 11%. The Democrat plan, only 5%. Spare me the talking points about Republicans making health care more expensive. This proposal is being led by Chairman Brett Guthrie of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. He's out of Kentucky. They're going to lower premiums. There's also other stuff in here about association health plans, PBM transparency that exposes the middlemen and all this. Look, bottom line is Republicans are coming to the table. They've got a plan to lower insurance rates. The Democrats are carping. If they were serious about solving a problem, they'd get on board with the Republican solutions. Now, joining me live from Capitol Hill, also of Kentucky, Congressman Jamie Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Jamie, your committee released a bombshell report yesterday on crime statistics in Washington, D.C. They are cooking the books in Washington to downplay the violence in the streets. Congressman Comer, what is the story, and welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott. We were blessed in this investigation. We had a lot of whistleblowers come forward. The whistleblowers were Washington, D.C. police officers. They came forward because they were sick and tired of lying. They were sick and tired of the police chief who was on camera saying that the crime statistics were going down in Washington, D.C. when they knew, in fact, they were going up. They knew Washington, D.C. was a crime-infested city, yet they were sick and tired of Democrats taking in the liberal media talking points from these falsified statistics that crime, in fact, went down. We saw when President Trump put the National Guard in Washington, D.C., the Democrats and their friends in the left-wing media, they all immediately start citing these statistics saying crime had actually gone down when we all knew it hadn't. But thank these officers who were stepped forward and we gave them whistleblower status, protection status. They all said this was a complete lie, that crime has actually gone up. It just shows that, the Democrats in Washington, D.C., whether they work for the Washington metro government or whether they work in some bureaucracy here in Washington, they all the time to create false narratives to hurt Republicans.
So this is a fascinating report, because when you go on CNN like I have to and you debate these crime issues in these blue cities and you debate whether Trump should have or can he deploy the National Guard, the first thing you always hear an anchor or some Democrat pundit say is, well, Scott, the crime has been going down for years. There really is no violent crime. And of course, anybody with eyes and ears who walks around Washington, D.C. knows that's not true. And now we know the truth, thanks to the Oversight Committee. They're cooking the books. They're falsifying the statistics. So is it just they want to mislead the American people about what's going on in the street? Why in the world would they be doing this other than just out of sheer politics and trying to mislead people who have to live and work in and around the Capitol?
It's 100% political, Scott. You know this better than anyone. When you asked about the major issues in any presidential election, one of the biggest issues here lately has been crime, especially in the cities. And it's an issue Democrats do poorly on. I would argue there's no issue in America that the poll worse on than crime. So what's their solution to eliminate crime? Cooking the books, lying about crime statistics, to create false narrative that crime's actually going down when we all know it's going up. So again, the Democrats don't have a plan on crime. You can't be for this liberal, woke criminal justice reform on criminals and expect crime to go down. You can't defund the police and expect crime to go down. So what's their answer? Their answer is to lie on the crime statistics. I don't think Washington, D.C. Is an isolated incident. I think we're seeing this in other cities, and we're welcoming whistleblowers in other cities. If there's evidence of this in Chicago or New York or Boston, please feel free to reach out to the House Oversight Committee. We would love to sit down and talk with you because, again, we think that this is a pattern of lying about crime statistics in a lot of cities that are infested with crime.
Well, then the issue is you nailed it. The Democrats have for years advocated for these policies where they let violent criminals out of jail to roam the streets of America. They then recommit violent crimes, happens everywhere. The only way to cover this up is to lie about the statistics. And then you raise the next great question. Is it happening in other cities? My bet is yes. And then the final question I'll put to you on this topic is, have any laws been broken? I mean, essentially you have people holding positions of public trust who are falsifying official government reports, sending that out to the taxpayers, to the citizens of Washington and all of America. Are they breaking laws? Will there be any criminal referrals here for this absolute lying that's gone on in Washington and probably in other cities?
We sent this report to the Attorney General, Mondi. We would like to get her input on this. I would love to give a criminal referral on the police. We know the police chief's resigning. She announced her resignation shortly before my report came out because she knew what we were going to report. But I don't think that's enough. I don't think losing your job is enough. But again, Scott, we send a lot of criminal referrals to the Department of Justice that are just sitting over there collecting dust. So I'm not in the mood on doing criminal referrals if we're not going to see the Department of Justice move on them. But again, the one win I will say is that the police chief's no longer going to be in that position. She's no longer going to be employed by the hardworking taxpayers. That's a partial win. I think most people listening to your show would agree with me. We need to see some accountability because if people aren't held accountable, then this is going to repeat itself. And we need to know the truth. It's not hard to keep up with how many murders. It's not hard to keep up with how many carjackings in a week's period. But we have where they're just blatantly, or the police chief's telling the police officers filling out the report, do not put that down. I think that's a crime in my book.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That's Jamie Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. We're going to hold you over, Mr. Chairman, because I want to ask you about what's going to happen on health care on the House floor this week. Plus, I think you postponed some interviews for the Clintons. I want to ask you about that as well. We'll take a break. We'll do it on the other side.
Yes.
A word from our friends at Relief Factor. Look, if you're living with everyday pain and you've sort of given up on it, like, well, this is just my life, you need to get rid of that attitude. You don't have to think that way. You can break up with the pain. George, we get letters, by the way. Here's one from George, hardworking guy, 10 hours a day in a garbage truck, a tough job. He had a sore right knee. He couldn't bend it. He's going to work. The knee's killing him. He starts taking Relief Factor, and he says, and I quote, I can bend my knee again with very little pain. We're using it in the Jennings household. Mom and Dad are using it. They love it. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, can help you feel better. The 3-week quick start is $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. I encourage it. You won't regret it. Comer coming back after this. It's Scott Jennings on the Salem Radio Network.
Ready for more coming?
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network with 4 minutes.
Questions?
All I want is a remedy for all of the things in me. Ooh, I will take a love. Please.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio. Return from break in 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Baby, why you dye your hair? Why you always keep with your mother's hair?
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network. From break in 3 minutes.
Tell me, did the other children's gold on you? If I come on like a dream, ooh, will you let you what I need? Will you let me come?
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
All I want is a remedy. For all of the things that we need. I could only take up to please.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 2 minutes. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio from break, 30 seconds.
I need a remedy, yeah, for what is ailing me. You see, I need a remedy for what is ailing me. Need a remedy, yeah, for what's ailing me.
Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in 1 minute.
Oh, you see, I'm finding. Oh, I'm getting one, I'm getting one. You see, I'm cheating.
The Scott Jennings Show will return from break in 45 seconds. The Scott Radio Network will return from break in 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 15 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network, 5 seconds.
Western civilization. Narrative at a time. It's the Scott.
Tuesday, December the 16th. Scott Jennings here. Health insurance in the news. The news. It's interesting right now on Capitol Hill. I've got something for you, though. It's not traditional insurance. It's something better. It's called Ease Total Health. EASE. It's better than traditional insurance. I'm telling you. Benefits you can use on day one. No deductibles. No restrictions on what doctors or hospitals you can choose. A range of options. If you're sick of getting the runaround from insurance companies and the government on health insurance, check out my buddies at Ease, EASE, easeforeveryone.com/Scott, or call them up, 888-EASE-123. The insurance companies are not going to help you. I'm just telling you that right now. Ease just might. easeforeveryone.com/Scott, or call 888-EASE-123. Congressman Jamie Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, is our special guest today. Congressman Comer, some breaking news that I thought you might have an opinion on. There are reports today that during the Biden administration, when they decided to raid President Trump's house at Mar-a-Lago, the FBI thought there was no probable cause to do so, but did it anyway because of political pressure from Joe Biden's DOJ, maybe from the Biden White House. Have you seen these reports? And do you have a reaction to that, sir?
I have seen the reports, and I believe that. Look, it all started with the National Archives claiming that that Donald Trump had broken the law. This is the National. It's basically areas that store documents. They don't have the authority to order a raid on the former president of the United States. In fact, President Trump was working with National Archives on doing an inventory of what documents he had in his possession. He was being very transparent with the National Archives, and he was cooperating with them. And then all of a sudden, you know, they notify CNN. They go in and raid made for TV moment, and it was 100% political. There was never justification to do that, and I applaud Cash making those documents transparent, and it's just more proof of how politicized Merrick Garland's Department of Justice was under Joe Biden.
Yeah, every time I have to debate these DOJ issues on TV, somebody always says to me, you know, there's no evidence that the Biden people ever politicized anything. And, of course, we know that's a lie, and now we have hard evidence on that. Let me go to the Epstein situation. You had sent out subpoenas for the Clintons to come in, Bill and Hillary. You have, I think, according to the news reports, delayed that until January, but you're saying and warning them, if they don't show up for their depositions on this, they are going to face contempt of Congress charges. What's the situation with the Clintons? Do you think we'll see them in the chair in front of the House Oversight Committee?
I hope so. It's very difficult to get a former president, Twitter warriors that are critical of you have to give opportunities if you're going to win a subpoena battle in court. And one thing I will put my record on in 2 years as chairman of the Oversight Committee, we've won every subpoena battle in court. And a lot of the people that, in court. We're seeing there's people that are winning in court in some of these cases of going up against the weapon. There are people who lose every single time. We win. We're going to get Clinton to answer questions. So the date for them to do the deposition is supposed to be tomorrow. Well, they've notified us they're going to a funeral tomorrow, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and they are. We've got this week and all that. We've given them another date. We've spent hours on the phone going back and forth with their lawyers. My lawyers and their lawyers are getting a date. Obviously, Clinton's slowballing it, doesn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, this next date in January, that's their final chance. And if they don't, we're going to have legislation teed up to hold them in contempt of Congress. We couldn't have anyway with all the health care votes and all the have on the floor for the health care votes. But in January, after we've given them ample opportunities, and after every attorney, Republican and Democrat, have come in, and after the fact that this subpoena to Bill Clinton was voted on in a bipartisan manner, Democrats voted for this subpoena as well. So I think we're in a position to win in court. So,
all right,
see him or at least hold him in contempt of Congress.
Sounds great. Congressman Jamie Comer of the Great Commonwealth of Kentucky, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Thanks for the news. And folks, I encourage you to go to the committee's website and check out this bombshell report on the cooking the books on the D.C. crime stats. This is a scandal of epic proportions Comer has uncovered. We'll take a break. When we come back, Senator Todd Young of Indiana is coming by. It's common sense for the American people. Scott Jennings on the Salem Radio Network.
The fastest growing show on radio. Welcome aboard. Jennings Show.
It's ready for you.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from minutes.
Run down. I've been lied to. And I don't know why I let that mean woman make me a fool. She took all my money.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network, which 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Now she's with one of my good. They're drinking in some crosstown bar. Sometimes I feel. Sometimes I feel like I've been
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network in 4 minutes.
I feel like I'm dying.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 3 seconds.
My friends tell me
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 3 minutes.
What you've done, but nothing seems to change. The bad times stay the same, and I can't run. I feel sometimes I
The Scott Jennings Show Network will return from break in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Good Lord, I feel like I'm dying.
Show on the Salem Radio will return from in 2 minutes.
Taking some hits. It's weird.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio. 1 minute and 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in 45 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show Radio Network will return from break in 15 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from 5 seconds.
Here's CNN's senior political commentator, New York best-selling author, favorite political pundit, Scott Jennings.
And I want every...
Thanks to Congressman Amy Comer of Kentucky for coming on. In just 1 second, we're going to hear from my friend from Indiana. Senator Todd Young is stopping by to cover a range of issues. But first, Christmas is just 9 days away. And I want to say thank you to everybody out there in the Salem listening audience who's helping us with our Angel Tree campaign. We've helped thousands of children who have a mom or a dad in prison. As of late yesterday, our network-wide donations for Angel Tree was closing in on $400,000. I mean, we're really doing it thanks to you guys. But even at this late date, you can still get in on this amazing opportunity to save a Christmas for a kid who did nothing wrong. They're going to have a miserable Christmas. So we step in and we save it. You save it more accurately. $30 is all it really takes to reach one child. I would be honored if you join me in donating to the Angel Tree campaign. I did it personally. And yesterday, Coach Bruce Pearl, who was on the show, he did it right as he was on the show. Everybody who hears about this does it. You should be next. They get a gift. These kids get a gift. They get a personalized note from their parent. And they get a brand new Bible. That's what a $30 donation does. Every year, Salem listeners open their hearts and their wallets to help these kids. Your generosity is so touching to me. So go right now. Go to scottjenningsshow.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner at the top of the page. That's one way to do it. Or pick up your phone, make a generous donation by calling this number, write it down, or remember it, 888-206-2793. And that's the other way to do it. Angel Tree campaign. Help these kids have a great Christmas. I know you want to do it. If you haven't done it, but you're hearing about it and you say, I need to do that, don't delay. Do it right now. It's Scott Jennings on the Salem Radio Network. My big conversation today with Indiana Senator Todd Young. Todd, Senator Young, thank you so much for carving out a little space for us here on the Scott Jennings Show.
Oh, Scott, it's great to be with you, and thanks for having me on, my friend. I love the show, and what a great message to start off with here. The Angel Tree campaign. I'm going to sign up. And I would also tout, not to be to be complimentary to your efforts, the Marine Corps Toys for Tots program. For those who want to drop a toy off, you can find the Marines drop-off spots. There'll be some in the greater Louisville area where you live, and all around the country. Doing now, you drop off a toy and help out a kid that does resources to enjoy the sort of Christmas that I grew up.
Well, thank you for the note about the Marines.
That time of year.
Yeah, thank you for the note about the Marines and the toy drive, and thank you for your words about the Angel Tree campaign. I mean, I think the message is this is the time of year when we open our hearts to each other as Americans. And these kids, the kids that don't have as much, the kids that have a mom or a dad in prison, the through line is it's no fault of theirs. And if you have the capacity to help a child at Christmas time, that's what we're asking you to do. Senator Young, we got a lot going on in Washington. A lot going on. On the Hill today,
Indeed.
Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio up briefing members of Congress about our attacks on these narco terrorists. In fact, Sean, let's listen to Secretary Rubio. Let's listen to Rubio, and then I want to get Senator Young's reaction. Here's Rubio on the Hill.
To engage with Congress on this. We're headed to the House now to do a similar briefing and provide updates on this counter, which is focused on infrastructure of these terrorist organizations that are operating in our hemisphere, undermining the security of Americans, killing Americans, poisoning Americans. And this has been a highly successful going and continued, and we're pleased to be here today to update Congress on how that's developing and how that's moving forward. As I said, at the third such engagement, certainly the fifth that I've been involved in, and those will remain and be ongoing.
Senator Young, you've been in some of these briefings. I know some of it's classified and you can't talk about some of it, but just generally, are you happy with the administration's attacks on the narco terrorists? And is the administration giving Congress enough transparency into what they're doing off the coast of Venezuela and last night in the Eastern Pacific?
Well, hats off to Secretary Rubio, Secretary of War Hegseth, to our Coast Guard Commandant who was in the briefing this morning, to an all-hands U.S. Senator briefing, again, classified setting, to the attorneys who were present. This is what self-confident administrations do. This is what administrations who are looking for buy-in from the people's representatives do. When they're engaged in military operations of any kind. And this is what they did today. Each offered a presentation about our strategy, our operations, the legal dimensions to the operations. There have been a lot of good questions about this. Why we are taking a military approach as opposed to a law enforcement approach here. They explained how this is an extension of the president's border security efforts. So this is really important to me as someone who not only wore the uniform as a U.S. Marine, but has really emphasized the importance of congressional involvement in decisions about when we make peace, when we make war. We, of course, have ongoing resourcing decisions, and we're members of the country's board of directors. And boards of directors, they ask a lot of hard questions. They try and get command of the subject matter, and they work with whomever the executive is, in this case, our country's chief executive, President Trump, so that he can make better decisions. And so today, this process was, just really flourishing, and everyone appreciated the briefing. As you indicated, they're going over to the House. There will be follow-up meetings and oversight as a function of this briefing. That the House Armed Services, Senate Armed Services Committee will get visibility into certain videos about which they, at least some members, have an interest. And I know this. I know when I go back to the greater Indianapolis area where I live, my constituents want this administration to take every reasonable and responsible measure to carry out this war on drugs. And we have not done enough ever. And this president's to be commended for taking this seriously.
As someone who wore the uniform, and thank you, sir, for serving our country, both in the military and now in your political service, when you saw some of your colleagues like Mark Kelly and Slotkin and some of these other Democratic members who were raising the specter that the commander-in-chief was giving illegal orders and therefore these orders shouldn't be followed, how did that hit you as both a former Marine, but of course as someone who holds the high responsibility of being a U.S. Senator right now?
If they had something to say, they should just say it, right? If they regarded any of the orders that are given by the president or one of his cabinet members as something other than legal, they should have identified what that order was. But just to vaguely restate what every service member knows, which is that they take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, that is their charge. That's understood. For them to restate it in such a provocative fashion struck me as not just peculiar, but maybe even inviting some sort of misbehavior. And so I think that's the point that Secretary Hegseth in particular has made. I know members of the administration have made that time and again. Look, it's one thing to take very seriously our war powers. I've certainly done that during my time here. Senator Kaine and myself have just authored provisions that will go into this year's National Defense Bill that would repeal the 1991 and 2002 AUMFs, the Gulf and Iraq wars, officially bringing to an end those forever wars. President's 100% on board. So that just demonstrates that I take these sorts of things seriously, but you've got to be specific. If you have problems with the ways we're carrying out these attacks with our broader strategy, we owe it to the American people to make that known. We should not encourage misbehavior in the ranks. I would not ever contemplate doing that.
Is it your anticipation? I see the House passed the National Defense Authorization Act last week, and it looks like the Senate will take it up this week. Do you think you'll get it done and off to the president's desk before Christmas here?
Well, I do. There are a lot of important things in there between supporting the defense companies that outfit our warfighters. They're located in every congressional district around the country, every state around the country. There will be a lot of member interest in that. But more importantly, providing the certainty that our warfighters need to know that we will spare nothing to make sure that they are safe and secure and have reliable programming so that they can go out and defend our way of life and do all that we ask of them. So this is consistently a bill that we pass every year without high drama. There hasn't been a lot of high drama this year, even amidst, sometimes a highly divided political atmosphere. And, the White House deserves a lot of credit for that. They've made enormous changes culturally in terms of procurement and even in terms of their point of emphasis over at DOD. But even amidst all that, they have worked with Congress to usher this piece of legislation through the process. And I think it's really, it's going to pay dividends before the week is out. I think on Thursday we'll wrap up business here in Washington. We can go home and wake up another day, fight about issues we disagree on, and hopefully, rally around some issues we can agree on. So feeling good about it, but, there is more work to do. There's always more work to do. There's more savings to be wrung out of the Pentagon. There are some threats that remain, I think, unaddressed, and we need to take those more seriously. But this has been a major improvement under the Trump administration on some of the NDAAs, national defense bills, that we've seen in recent years.
and I want to talk to you, Senator, after we take this break about the effort that you are leading to help the United States build more ships, and keep up with the Chinese military. On the other side, we'll ask you about that. First, a quick word from our friends at Pure Talk. You know, as a consumer, you carry the success or failure of any business in the palm of your hand. You choose to buy it, you choose not to, you choose to spend money with somebody else. It's all really up to you, the consumer. And at Pure Talk, which is my wireless company, we want to say thank you for everybody who chose Pure Talk this year for your wireless needs. Because of you, Pure Talk had a record-breaking year, and that allowed them to be even more generous through their charity programs. They've donated $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership. They stand on the front lines of preventing veteran suicide. So Pure Talk is a good company that gives back to people like our veterans community. When you choose Pure Talk, you're supporting American jobs. It's an American company. The customer service team is based in the good old US of A. Pure Talk is a good company. They save you money. They are charitable. They support Americans. They support American veterans. When you support them, they do good things. So the message right now from me, thank you. From the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust in the company, and God bless America. More with Todd Young when we come back. It's Scott Jennings on the Salem Radio Network.
If you buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate in free. If you buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate.
The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 3 minutes. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 2 minutes. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Network will from break in 1 minute and 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return in 1 minute. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 45 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 30 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will return from break in 15 seconds. The Scott Jennings Show on the Salem Radio Network will break in 5 seconds.
I got a little change in my pocket going jig.
He's the author of the best-selling book, A Revolution of Common Sense. Scott Jennings.
Each time we talk, I get the same old thing.
Senator Todd Young in just a second. But first, a quick word from our friends at Americans for Free Markets, and we're still talking about it. Debanking, you know, when these regulators take away your bank account and restrict you from having financial services because they don't like your politics. Happens more than you think. In fact, they did it to the Trump family after in the last administration. So President Trump comes back and he signs an executive order out, you know, kind of trying to do away with this debanking. But there's only one real way to fix this permanently, and that's for Congress to codify the president's executive order, work with the administration to fix these outdated laws and to increase transparency and accountability and financial regulation so that future administrations can never, ever again weaponize our financial system. We need lawmakers here to get on this and work with the Trump administration to stop debanking and update these laws. We need a national standard prohibiting any financial institution from denying services based on politics or religion. Get involved in this fight. Go to forfreemarkets.org, FOR freemarkets.org. It's Scott Jennings on Salem Radio Network coming down the home stretch here with Indiana Senator Todd Young. Senator, you are leading the effort in Congress to build more ships. We need more ships to keep up with China. President Trump signals his intent to end our shipbuilding decline. You're working on this. You've got the Ships for America Act, comprehensive legislation meant to revitalize U.S. shipbuilding. Where are we in this fight to get America's shipbuilding back on track?
Well, we are far down the road in terms of addressing what has become an acute national security challenge. It's become an issue of economic security, meaning our supply chains can be interrupted any day or threatened of interruption by our leading adversary, China. And we just can't continue to depend on other countries to make all the vessels we need to run a modern economy. Certainly, we can't depend on other countries to produce many of our U.S. Navy vessels and to help us with key components. So I've worked together, working with the White House, working with colleagues on both sides of the aisle, working with our labor unions and members of the private sector, and even foreign governments who want to invest in this project, friendly governments like South Korea and Japan, to idolize our entire shipbuilding industry, to train the requisite workforce so that we can build 250 merchant vessels over the next 10 years in this country as we rebuild the United States Navy, and to train the next generation of merchant mariners so that they can work on these vessels. And here again, we are not depending on foreign nationals to carry out this critical activity, especially in time of war. Scott, we depend on our merchant marine, we depend on our merchant vessels to move our men and material into harm's way whenever conflicts happen. It's not primarily through airlift capacity, it's instead on the sea. We also depend on the sea for so much of our commercial activity. In fact, that's the leading and most efficient way for us to move our fiber to market, for us to move inputs into this country so we can assemble them into manufactured goods and move our goods out into the world. And this is very much at threat. We have the capacity to manufacture one merchant vessel a year. In fact, this last year we manufactured just one whole vessel in the United States.
Wow.
We have the capacity. And I'm sorry, did you ask me why or wow?
I can't believe it. One vessel.
Yeah. It's really pretty remarkable that we've lost this ability. It goes back a number of decades. There are a lot of reasons for this, but first the Japanese started subsidizing their shipbuilding capacities, and they did it for issues of national and economic security. Then the Japanese started to lose business to our friends the South Koreans, who also subsidized their shipping industry. We need to reshore to that. China has a remarkable capacity to make ships. They can produce over 1,000 vessels a year. They have 5,500 vessels in ocean-going traffic. We have 80. So by producing another 250, yeah.
Yeah, well, I hate to cut you off. The show is coming to an end. What you have just laid out is shocking to me, but I'm glad you're on it because we got to make more ships. That's Todd Young from Indiana. Come back tomorrow. We're broadcasting from the White House. Scott Jennings here on the Salem Radio Network.